They say she waits in the dark, behind the glass. Her name is a whisper on the lips of the brave or the foolish. They say if you stand in front of a mirror in the dead of night and whisper her name 3 times, she'll appear. A bloodied face, a vengeful scream, a chilling fate awaiting those who dare summon her. What is it about a name that calls the dead? A forgotten queen drowning in blood? A witch seeking vengeance? Or something far worse? An entity older than time, lurking just beyond a reflection, waiting for you to look too long, to say the words, to bring her forth. You've heard the stories. You've felt the chill in your spine. But are you ready to face the truth of Bloody Mary? Welcome to Project Black Garden, a Monsters and Myths podcast. This is Season 2, The Snapdragon Files, Episode 16, File Number 313. As always, my name is Michael. Let's begin. The legend of Bloody Mary is a mix of history and folklore, with multiple origins. One of the most common theories links Bloody Mary to Queen Mary I of England, the daughter of King Henry VIII. She was a devout Catholic, and after ascending to the throne, sought to reverse her father's Protestant Reformation. Her reign saw the execution of hundreds of Protestants, earning her the nickname Bloody Mary. Mary suffered from what some believe to be a phantom pregnancy. Her body showed signs of pregnancy, but no child was ever born. This eerie historical detail has been woven into the legend. The urban legend of Bloody Mary is a ritual, well-known folklore practice where people chant her name in front of a mirror, typically in a dark room, hoping to summon her spirit. In the ritual, participants stand before a mirror, often in a dimly lit bathroom, and chant Bloody Mary 3 to 13 times. She is said to appear as a ghostly figure, sometimes with a bloodied face or screaming. Reports vary. Some claim she appears to reveal a prophecy. Others say she attacks or even pulls the summoner into the mirror. And some have said she brings death. Aside from Queen Mary, other figures have been suggested as inspirations for the legend. Mary Worth, a supposed witch who was executed during the Salem witch trials, or another local woman accused of witchcraft. Countess Elizabeth Bathory, a Hungarian noblewoman rumored to have bathed in the blood of a young woman to maintain her youth, though that story has been largely exaggerated. The Bloody Mary myth has been popularized in many different accounts and stories. For instance, in The Dare, they were just kids, 4 of them laughing, whispering, and daring each other in the dark bathroom, lit only by a single candle. "Say it," someone whispered. Jenna, the most fearless, stood in front of the mirror and whispered, "Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody." The candle flickered violently. The mirror fogged over, but no one had breathed. Then, behind Jenna, A pale face appeared, mouth agape, eyes hollow, watching them. She turned. Nothing was there. But a reflection, it didn't move. In the apartment mirror, Mara had just moved into her new apartment. Cheap rent, old charm, and one massive antique mirror in the bedroom that couldn't be removed. She didn't believe in the stories, but after the third night of hearing whispers, she tried the name, half jokingly. Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. That night, she awoke to scratching sounds coming from inside the mirror. The reflection showed her asleep, motionless, until her reflection smiled. The next morning, the mirror showed an empty room. Mara was gone, but her reflection was still there, smiling. And in our last example, the historian. Dr. Elliot was an expert in European folklore. He dismissed Bloody Mary as a mere folklore rooted in psychological projection. Until one night, while researching in an old abbey, he found a centuries-old diary written by Queen Mary herself. It ended with a passage in Latin, a curse. He spoke the words aloud, translating them in front of a mirror. Suddenly, blood seeped from the cracks of the glass. A pale hand reached through, grabbing his throat. His assistant found the mirror days later, cracked, blood on the frame. But there was no Dr. Elliot, just a whisper echoing in the empty hall. Long live the Queen. Now, before we get into this episode's file, I wanted to remind everyone that all the names and dates and locations have been changed for everyone's protection, especially mine. All of it except for my great uncle's name, Samuel. I like to leave that as is, as a show of respect for the man that recorded all these truths. And with that, these are his words. It had been a long week for Special Forces Unit 7734, Team Hell. We were tired. The missions had been a little more rough than usual, but we were excited when we were told we would be flying into Sin City, not for a vacation, but for another mission. Las Vegas, Nevada, the city that never sleeps. But the Crimson Mirage Theater, just off the strip, was silent. No spotlights, no music, just velvet curtains soaked in shadows, and the curse of the 9 people who had recently vanished. Victor Thorne, the headliner magician, was crouched backstage. He was pale and bleeding from his eyes. With a dry mouth, he was whispering Latin, almost as in a lullaby. Now the reports were it was just a trick gone wrong, but I knew better. My team knew better. We arrived just past midnight as we filed through the theater, making our way onto the stage and surrounding the prop. The prop in question? A floor-length antique mirror wrapped in black velvet. It was chained to the floor, and for a moment, I thought I could hear whispering coming from it. Now, Victor's signature illusion was called the Mirror Queen. The audience would chant Bloody Mary, and the lights would flicker, spooky sounds would surround the auditorium, and poof, someone would vanish. But it was always just a magic trick, and the patrons would always return. But now, no one came back. I don't know why they waited for 9 victims to disappear before authorities were brought in, but they did. Now, the history and backstory of this mirror is quite unbelievable. The mirror was commissioned in 1555 by an advisor to the Queen Mary of England, known as Father Aramis Bligh, a Catholic alchemist priest obsessed with eternal penance and spiritual captivity. He believed that Protestant heretics' souls could be trapped and punished beyond death. And it's said that he forged a mirror using a blackened obsidian frame carved from volcanic glass, said to have been pulled from the crater of Mount Hekla in Iceland, long considered a gateway to hell. The mirror's silver backing was blended with human blood, specifically from the first Protestant executed under Mary's rule. It was never meant to reflect the living. Now, the legend of this mirror says that it could do more than reflect. It could record confessions whispered near it. And if you stared long enough, it began to show your sins, not as memories, but as living things behind the glass. The guiltier the soul, the stronger the pull. Over decades, priests who used the mirror began going mad. They saw figures watching them, mimicking them, trying to escape. After Queen Mary's death, the mirror vanished from history. Some believed it had been buried in the catacombs beneath London. Others claimed it was sealed in a monastery, its surface coated in wax and bound in scripture. In 2009 is when Victor stumbled onto it during a black market auction. And supposedly, when he picked up his prize, the seller warned him jokingly, "Just don't say her name." As my racing thoughts tried their best to forget that history lesson, I stepped closer to Victor and whispered, "Be honest with me, Victor. Is this thing for real?" He looked up at me with hollow eyes and said, "It's not an illusion. It's a ritual. The mirror feeds on belief. She needs it. She thrives for it. And Vegas is the perfect place for broken dreams. And sadly, the poor souls that come here believe everything." Just then, things went sideways, fast. The dusty velvet cover fell away from the mirror, revealing its dangerous beauty. And almost immediately, all our reflections moved out of sync. It immediately caused chaos within my team. Sergeant Scotch, one of my men, stared at the mirror and whispered, "Oh God, my daughter's in there." Private Maximilian dropped his weapon and stuttered, "Mom, is that you?" I quickly shoved both of them back, trying my best not to make eye contact with whatever they were seeing, but it was too late. From the corner of my eye, I saw something impossible. I saw the face of the first fallen soldier I had ever killed, and his eyes were filled with understanding and compassion, and it pulled to me as if to say, "It's okay. Come here. We'll talk about it. I understand." I pulled my eyes closed tight, turning my face away from the haunting reflection. And without even thinking, I raised my weapon and fired directly into the glass. The sound of the mirror shattering echoed throughout the theater. Its binding chains fell to the ground, and suddenly you could hear breathing, her breathing, and as my eyes opened back up, she stepped out, Bloody Mary. Her face twisted, first into the Queen, then a corpse, then a child, then another stranger, and another stranger, and finally back to my first victim. Eyes like bottomless pits, a smile that knew me, a smile that knew all of us. Out of sheer instinct to survive, we all fired, but the bullets, they passed through her as if she was made of mist. Her form returned to her original likeness, a beautiful but terrified face, bloodied, mangled hair. Her blood-soaked arms clicked and snapped as they reached into Private Maximilian's chest. And before he could react, she had pulled out his shadow, spinning back around and taking it with her into the mirror. He hit the ground like a puppet cut from its strings. The sight shocked me to my core. Victor screamed in horror and ran off the stage and out of the theater. Within the spider-webbed, broken reflection of the mirror, Bloody Mary looked deep into my eyes, almost with a smirk on her face. And just behind her was the reflection of Private Maximilian. He wasn't hurt. He wasn't scared. He looked calm and at peace. He smiled my way just behind her right shoulder. I looked down at his lifeless body, just feet from me. Angrily, I growled, "Give me him back. Now." Mary laughed, so I took a step closer and demanded, with my weapon pointed at what was left of the reflective surface, and demanded, "I want Maximilian back." Her broken reflection stepped closer towards me, and she whispered, "How about a trade? You for your teammate." Scotch called from behind me, placing a hand on my shoulder. Don't trust her." She called out again, "A trade. Life for life." My legs began to step forward, feeling the unbelievable pull to join my teammate inside her cursed mirror. Scotch put his big arm around me, holding me in place, and scolded, "He's gone, Sam. We have to let him go. We have to stop her. You know what to do." Mary grew angry and hissed, "Say my name. Say it, and let me invite you into paradise." Her lies woke me from her evil enchantment, and I tilted my head to the side and said, "This is for Maximilian." With my boot, I lunged forward, kicking the mirror backwards to the floor. It crashed, the black obsidian cracking and screeching across the floor. Scotch handed me a white-hot flare that he had just ignited. I tossed it to the floor and watched as it immediately engulfed the ancient relic in bright orange and purple flames. From inside the shattered glass pieces, Mary's evil voice screamed and hissed as she began to claw her way out of the shattered reflection. Quickly, Scotch ignited more flares, throwing them strategically to burn the mirror as quickly as possible. It was so hot and burned so quick that the stage began to catch fire as well. The flames stood 10 feet, reaching into the air before our eyes. As we watched the flames, the reality of what had just happened started to hit me. I nodded towards Scotch, and we bent down and picked up Private Maximilian's body and made our way toward the exit. And just before we made our way through the doors, Victor ran past us, screaming, "No!" and ran through the theater, jumped on stage, ripped the closest curtain down, throwing it over the massive fire in hopes of putting it out. Scotch braced himself and shifted in his stance, ready to stop him by any means necessary. But I just shook my head and continued out the exit. Moments later, emergency crews, police departments, fire trucks, they emerged on the Crimson Mirage Theater, putting out the flames and arresting the once great magician. Pictures and videos were taken of the scene, of what was left of that evil mirror, and I prayed that Mary never made it out. But in my line of work, that's probably not likely. Private Maximilian was not dead, but lied in a dormant coma for 3 years before his family finally gave up and let him go. I still visit his gravesite from time to time, and I can still see his face in the shards of that demonic mirror, and I hope his soul is free and not trapped there. And to this day, I've never spoken the words bloody or Mary in the same sentence ever again. Now in this file, my uncle enclosed pictures of the mirror before it was destroyed and what was left after the fire. And for some reason, I can't look at them too long. Maybe it's just in my mind, but I can feel the pull that he described in this file. And dear listeners, maybe one day I'll have the courage to upload these pictures. If you'd like that, please email me or message me on any of my socials. I can be found at Gardner Michael on X, Twitter, Blue Sky, and now TikTok. Or email me at pbgharvest@gmail.com. And be ready for the next episode. It's a crazy one about a cursed situation called Bones. As always, my name is Michael, and this has been Project Black Garden, a Monsters and Myths podcast, Season 2, The Snapdragon Files. Be safe and believe in the unbelievable. But remember, monsters are real, and some names should never be spoken.